Welcome back everybody, I'm Charles Bryant. Now today's video is a little bit different because normally I talk about photography tutorials, and today I want to do a video tutorial. I want to show you how to create the dolly zoom effect without a dolly track system or a zoom lens. Now this is also called the Hitchcock effect and the vertigo effect if you did not know. And if you are unfamiliar with this whole effect and you're not real sure what it is, let me give you just a very brief preface as to who created it, what it is, and why it's still used. So with that being said, the dolly zoom effect was created by Erman Roberts in the 1950s on the movie set of Vertigo. He was the second cameraman. He and Alfred Hitchcock worked together to create this complex set of movements that give you a sense of uneasiness, queasiness, and fight or flight syndrome. Now this movement consisted of two contrasting movements of dollying in and zooming out, and dollying out and zooming in. These two movements working together gave you a sense of uneasiness, which is still widely used in the world of cinematography today. In order for me to show you how to make this shot, we first have to take it. So I figured using a drone or a GoPro would probably be the two best options simply for the fact that they have phenomenal image stabilization. We don't need the dolly in the track system, which is the reason why we're doing this video. The only thing we have to worry about is the zoom. We could do that in post-production. Now listen up. I recommend shooting this in 4K, 60 preferably if you have it, simply for the fact that that gives you the most leeway and play in post-production. You might be able to get away with 2K, but that's kind of iffy. It's kind of iffy. So I really want to try two different types of drone shots. The first shot I want to do is similar to that epic shot in Jaws where Roy Schneider's sitting on the beach. He's playing the character Brody, and they zoom in on his face while the background is stretched out, and it really puts you inside of his mind where you really feel that fight or flight sensation that he's got because I guess someone yelled Jaws or he sees a shark or something. I don't know. The second shot is just going to be straight up wide landscape shot over the city. Holy mother, it's so hot out here. I can't even, look at the sweat. I'm just standing here, it's hot. I feel like I'm in a sauna with a plastic bag wrapped around my face. So now we're done with the drone. It's time to move on to the GoPro. Okay, so we've gotten all of our shots. Now it's time to jump into the computer so I can show you where the real magic happens. Now, you can use whichever software you want to use. I've gone ahead and uploaded mine into Premiere Pro, but some people use Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro 10, Adobe After Effects, and even DaVinci Resolve. Any software, honestly, that would allow you to add keyframes so you can change the scale and the position, you should be good to go. So let's get started. All right, so looking at the computer here, we are inside Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, I'm gonna go kind of slow, so the ones that don't really understand Premiere Pro too well can follow along very easily. So let's look at this first clip here. This is the drone shot that I did, and as I skim through it, you can see that I am dollying in towards my face. Now, if you've been paying attention all along, what should you be doing with the zoom if you're dollying into the subject? If you said zoom out, pat yourself on the back because you are an A+ student. So in order to get this process started, we need to make keyframes. Now before we make the first keyframe, we need to move all the way to the beginning of the clip here. And then we're going to come up here to scale. See this stopwatch right here? Click on that. And then we're going to go to position. See this stopwatch? Click on that. These turn blue indicating that keyframing has started. And you already have two keyframes right here. Now what we need to do is move to the end of the clip. Now we need to make two more keyframes. And instead of clicking on the stopwatch right here, we're going to click right here. These two little diamonds right here. Add keyframe. If we had clicked on the stopwatch, it would have turned off keyframing. So now we've got our keyframes at the beginning and our keyframes at the end. The next process is to look at the end clip. Look at the finished product right here. This is the subject, which would be me. Check out roughly how large I am in this clip. Now the whole object of this thing is to roughly keep the subject the same size throughout the entire effect. So now that we've seen the size of how big I am at the end of this clip, we're going to go all the way to the beginning and make an adjustment with the scale. Now, I've already done this prior to this video, so to save time, I'm just going to go ahead and punch in the numbers. Okay, so now that we've got our keyframes at the beginning of the clip, and our keyframes at the end of the clip, our next step is to look at how large the subject is at the end of the clip, the subject being me. Okay, we're checking out the size and composition here, got a rough estimate. Now we're going to move all the way to the beginning of the clip and then make some adjustments in scale. So I've done this prior, so to save time, I'm going to go ahead and punch in the numbers. Now before you yell at me, I know you're going to say, wait a minute, you just said that we have to be zooming out. Why did you just zoom in? Well, if you think about it, we're starting out zoomed in, and as we move to the end of the clip, we are theoretically zooming out. But at the same time, keeping the subject roughly the same size throughout, which gives that parallaxing effect of the background stretching out and making it seem uneasy. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, if you wanted to make it go a little bit faster, there's two ways you can do it. You can click on these keyframes and drag them in a little bit further, but you would need to make some additional adjustments, and that would definitely make things move a little bit faster. Let me back out of that a little bit. Or the other way would be to right click on the clip, go down to show keyframes, time remapping, and speed. And as this little cursor changes here, you can adjust the speed just like that. Alright, moving on to this next clip. This is the GoPro shot that I did, and unfortunately I shot this in the same direction, dialing in towards the house. Let's say I wanted to make it backwards. Well, lucky for me, there was nobody walking down the street, there was no cars coming in any direction here, so I'm going to be able to get away with just reversing the clip. So right click on the clip, go to speed duration, click reverse speed. The easiest thing would have been to just shot it the way I wanted to, but I didn't think it would look good me reversing down a street. So now we look at the clip. As you can tell, I'm going backwards. Alright, so the same process applies. So we'll go to the beginning of the clip and add our keyframes here, clicking on the stopwatch and position. And then move all the way to the end of the clip and do the same thing here, clicking on this little diamond shape in the position and in the scale, making the keyframes here. So instead of going to the beginning of the clip and doing a zoom in, we'll be going to the end of the clip and doing a zoom in, trying to roughly keep this thing the same size throughout. Now a quick tip, an easy way to get from keyframe to keyframe is to click on these little arrows. As you can see, it pulls it right to the keyframe and pulls it right to the keyframe. Let's say I was in the middle of here and I made an adjustment to scale. Well, whammo, now I've got a keyframe right there and things are gonna get really weird. Check this out. Whoa, that's not what we want. So let's get rid of that. So make sure you're not making that mistake when making keyframes. It's very easy to do. So let's go back to the keyframe, start of that first keyframe, and then we'll go to the end of the keyframe right here. And then we're going to boost the scale up just a little bit here. And we might need to change the position just a little bit as well. Let's start with 150. I think that's what I've got there, yeah. And I think that comes off kind of nicely there. Now as you go through it, you can make some tweaks and adjustments here with the position. Just make sure that you're using these white arrow keys to key over to the right keyframe when making your adjustments. So let's take a look at this last clip real quick here. This is the drone shot that I did over the city. As you can tell that I am dialing forward. So the same principle applies like the last two that we did. We're going to go to the front of the clip and add a keyframe, position and scale. There are keyframes there. Then we'll move to the end of the clip and add our two keyframes there by clicking here and here. Now we're going to go to the front of the clip by clicking on this little arrow here. This takes us right to the keyframe. Let's just punch in arbitrarily 150 to see what happens and play this back. I think that works nicely. The only other thing you could probably do would maybe be to speed this up, and you can just right click, go down to time remapping, and then speed, and do that from there. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video, you found it interesting, and that I did a good enough job of explaining it so that it was easy to understand. If you have a question, feel free to leave a comment below. Give me a like or dislike, whichever one you want to choose. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, so you know when I post again, and I will see you when I come back.